Hey, Dennis O'Brien back again on Let's Talk About It. Glad to be here. Susan Johnson is at the Capitol, and she is on her way home now. And I expect she will be joining us. I got Matt Rupar, our producer. And tonight, very special guest tonight, hasn't been on the show before. I've only known her for a relatively short time. Not that well. I know a certain person in her family pretty well. Anyway, it's Ava Molnar. She is a professor, teacher? Teacher at the beautiful Arts Magnet School down the street that I worked in for maybe 10 years when I was in legal aid, but it was redone through, I think, state funding, and it's a beautiful building. Yeah. And Ava, you must love. You've been there for how long?
I've been there probably about 7 years, I think, at this point. I started as a long-term sub, and then an instructional assistant, and then I became a teacher there. And now I have my own pathway. So I get to teach the kids about integrated arts and management, and we get to explore creative possibilities, and a lot of the businesses on Main Street too, which is pretty cool.
I'm going to have to ask you a few more questions about the school.
Yeah.
But I want to first go back in time in your history as to when you first got interested in being involved in the arts.
Then that's back to the beginning of me.
Yeah.
The arts have been basically in my blood since as long as I can remember. I started writing poetry at a very young age. I have very fond memories of actually going to the library right here at the children's department, and we would do reading events and poetry events. And then growing up, I started doing theater with some of my friends, and then I decided when I was in college, I was double majoring in a lot of things, but theater was always there. And so that became the forefront for me. I got my master's in interdisciplinary arts, but with a concentration in performance creation, because for me it's all about storytelling and creating that shared experience for people.
Sure.
And so when I came back to Willimantic after college, I got involved with the Theater Guild, and I started doing shows there, and I decided let's just put more time into this building, and I joined the board of directors, and I am also now on the Willimantic Music, Arts and Culture Commission, and we're trying to get some things started there. So it's very much my life.
Everybody knows about you now. You're headline news in the Chronicle.
Yes, I was very surprised to see it.
That's one of the reasons why I asked you to be on the show. I look for a lot of times we get booked up pretty fast, and we didn't have a booking for this Friday, and I saw was it Tuesday or Wednesday's Chronicle?
Yeah.
And I said, wow, Ava's in the Chronicle, and it's a great story about you.
Yeah.
I didn't know that much about you. I knew you were involved in the Theater Guild, at least, and I knew that. I don't remember if you were on the board when I was involved with Victor and Martha in finalizing the initial lease for the building, because that was we were lucky to have Rio Brulard on our side, because not everybody at the bank wanted to continue that, and we made a nice deal. Lee Terry worked on it as well, who I think may still be involved in the Theater Guild in some way.
I'm glad that you guys were able to get that space solidified for us.
Too.
It's so important for a town to have a space for arts to be fostered and developed. Like, just an actual physical location is really important. It's great to have the concept and to have the group and have the people, but if there's a place that you can point to and say that's our home, like that building is our place where we can come together, that's such a great reminder for us as well.
Yeah, I think I was recruited by one of my probate clerks, Carol Pellegrini, the late great Carol Pellegrini, who talked me into helping out. And I said it wasn't hard, because I said I love theater, and I certainly love the Theater Guild, and I always loved the Funderburgs.
Good.
And I thought, I was very happy to be working with Rio Brulard, who I knew very well, and he was really without him, I don't think we could have done it. And it is just a great place, and it's right on Main Street. Mm-hmm. And you were talking about in your article, you were talking about some of your work on the when you're starting to revive the committee, and after COVID. And I was on the council when that committee was created. Mm-hmm. I remember that, but we did. I was disappointed when I was on the council that I like Zoom meetings, but I'd rather meet face to face.
Yeah, but it's so difficult, especially having gone through all that we've gone through with COVID, especially with the theater. What I've noticed is we tried very hard to have an online presence. We hosted virtual events, which were great, and they got us to reach out to people who otherwise we wouldn't have gotten to work with. with, and now we've formed a relationship with them and they're coming back to work with us, that everything's reopened. But it is really hard for us to kind of readjust our priorities and our values. It was very easy to stay isolated and in this bubble, right? And so breaking out of that and coming back to life, it's been a process.
I understand.
Yeah.
I'm a mixed bag. I consider myself more of an extrovert than an introvert, but I'll tell you, when I'm in my office all by myself in my man cave office that I do everything in, and I get into a groove. I don't want to be bothered.
Oh, yeah.
And I do, I'm town attorney in Andover, and they do all Zoom meetings, so I participate in all their meetings. And if I had to go there, I would have to charge them a lot more money. And I probably wouldn't go.
So there is the great aspect that we've made so many more things accessible to us, right?
That's right.
Like having the capacity and the knowledge to have a meeting online creates more opportunities for us. I know that because of that, our play reading committee, we're able to expand to members who aren't able to drive all the way out here if they're not in town, but are still invested in our theater and the well-being of it.
Yeah, I can see how that would be so. It's like, and when I first started using computers, when I worked in the I don't think I was in the Capitol Theater. I think it was later. It was close though. We were using Magcard typewriters for doing repetitive work, and then we got computers pretty early.
Yeah,
because we did a lot of some of our units did a lot of repetitive work. Not me. I used to write a lot of long briefs and stuff that were, I might be partnering with somebody in Norwalk or Torrington or something like that, and so we would share our drafts and and not that I like to write with other people. I like to do it myself. How about you?
Oh, that's always a tricky thing. So I love collaboration, but I know fundamentally that it is more difficult than we always think it is, right? We have an idea, we love our idea, someone else also has an idea, and they also love that idea, and then how do you bring those things together?
Yeah.
And it's been such a process trying to figure out who I am as an artist and a collaborator, and that's why I'm really excited to be doing a workshop reading tomorrow. So I'm adapting a show, and I'm putting it out there for people to give their feedback on.
Great segue.
Yeah.
Fantastic. You got me out of, sometimes I'm into TMI, and people say that to me all the time.
You're trying to give character background and detail.
I'm trying to give character background and detail.
Texture to the story.
When I do a trial, and I used to do a lot of trials, you always have to introduce the witness first. And now we're at the point where, for your work in the theater, you go, well, maybe talk more about the school later on. I think we could do 2 shows with you, given the fact that I'd like to know a lot more about the Arts Magnet School.
Yeah.
Anyway, but let's talk about what's happening right now, and that's one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on tonight, because I read in the article that you are doing a special project.
Yes.
And it's you're doing it publicly tomorrow. Why don't you tell us about that?
So our June show is going to be a production of Lysistrata by Aristophanes. So it's an ancient Greek comedy, very, very old, kind of archaic in some of its language, but the concept is still very valuable as a story. Because I think that's really what we have to look for is stories that help us learn, process, and grow in that shared experience. So the idea behind it is I am adapting it. So I am taking the old translation and making it a little more modern, a little more relatable for people. And tomorrow we're presenting a workshop reading. So I have a few of my friends coming in. They're going to be just doing staged reading, so sitting and just reading it with a little bit of character. They're not doing a full production, but it's just so that we can start to see how it sounds. I think that's one of the most important things is to hear the words, because I've spent so much time with the words on the page, like looking at the old text, doing research, all of this stuff. Yeah, so actually getting to hear it and then getting to ask other people questions, right? Because I know my favorite parts. I know the things that I like about the show, but that could be incredibly different than someone else's perception of it. I could think this joke's hilarious. If it doesn't land with everyone else, I might cut it, right? Yeah. There's a lot of changes that I can make, and that's honestly what I'm most excited about.
Interesting. Talking about working with other people on writing stuff. I don't know if you knew who Sid Caesar was.
Yes.
Sid Caesar was,
the comedy
when I was
show.
A kid, my family, we would watch your show of shows every week. It was early television. He was amazing. And one of the reasons why it was amazing, he had amazing writers. He had Mel Brooks.
Yep.
He had Woody Allen later on for a while on a different show. But Mel Brooks, lots of, they don't come to my, who's that? Neil Simon.
Mm-hmm.
Neil Simon. And they used to, and there was even a play that Neil wrote about, Laughter on the 28th Floor or something like that.
Yeah.
About them collaborating. And it was difficult. And
Yeah.
they're all guys. I think there was a woman in the room. Maybe one or two, maybe at times. And
there's usually
Fat
one.
Bray might have made it in there. Maybe when Caesar was near the end of his real big run. Carl Reiner, another Rob Reiner's dad, who was probably, I would say, more talented than Rob Reiner. And he was, I mean, he did Dick Van Dyke and all that stuff, which I didn't get into. But boy, did I get into Caesar. And there's a great, some great stuff on the internet about how they did when they got older, they all got together and they reminisced about what it was like, and that was amazing. So I know I do a lot of writing, and I consider myself, that's why I figured I could become a lawyer, because I said I can talk and I can write, and my writing got better and better and better. After I was out of law school for a while, I started to write like a real person again, instead of like a Southern judge from 1920.
Yeah.
Because quoting from cases like that. Susan Johnson has appeared in the studio.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Okay, you're going to have to sit in the middle, Sue.
Yeah,
I
sorry.
don't know. Why don't we have our guest as usual sitting there?
Oh, you're going to have her
Do you want me to move
Okay.
over?
You don't
I can
mind
scooch.
moving?
Yeah, no.
All right.
All right.
Anyway, we're talking about Liz Estrada and how she's starting to adapt a play that was written by Aristophanes in 411
Wow.
BC.
Yes.
And it was, it's a timeless theme, I think.
Yeah.
It is because it's about human beings and human nature.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, partly from reading great literature, including the Old Testament and all kinds of stuff, I don't think human nature has changed very much.
No, it hasn't.
If at all.
Exactly.
It's just that conditions have changed.
Yes.
And so great literature is really a great way to learn about you, me, everybody else.
Yeah, it's definitely, this is one of the things that I love about theater and why I'm drawn to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I love all different types of art forms. Again, I try and explore visual and literary and film
Sure.
and all that stuff. But I always find myself coming back to theater because it is a shared experience unlike anything else, right? Every show is unique. Even if it's the same script and the same cast and the same director, every night that you go see it is going to be different.
Right.
Because the people coming in are going to have different experiences, the audience that you're sitting with, the reactions that you're getting. Like one night a joke will land, everyone laughs at it. The next night you get one chuckle, right? So it's the same, but it's
great.
different, and that's exactly how life is.
Yep,
And then
it is.
through these stories you get to like experience and learn and process, and like you could even have your own experience where you felt a bad feeling and you're like, oh, it's just a flesh wound, and then you see the same thing happen on stage and you're like, oh, this is a lot deeper than I realized. And you get to learn about yourself through watching other people explore their own human stories on stage. And I think that's a really incredible thing and an important thing, right? Theater teaches us empathy and understanding, not just as audience members, but as performers, as directors, as any creative member of the team. You're watching this, you're working with people, you're learning so much about everyone else that you're around and yourself at the same time.
That's that's why I'm so glad we have the community theater here, because it really gives you a sense of community. It gets people to participate, and it's wonderful that you're part of that. It's
and that's why I
good.
love
Thank you.
community theater.
Yes,
right.
yes.
For me, it's not just about like theater, Broadway, big lights. It's about the community aspect.
Yes.
And being able to bring people together and just be a person in witness of other people. And that's really a transformative effect.
And what a great thing to have the Burton Levitt Theater and the Arts Magnet School right here in the Arts and Entertainment District of Willimantic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's a wonderful thing, and it's a great opportunity for students in the region and for people in the region to have that sense of community.
It is.
So,
And that's why I teach an arts management class. I teach an intro to start an acting class, and I teach a stage management class, and usually I will try to find a way to connect them to the theater so that they can learn about not just the process as an abstract concept, but how it's actually applied. And then we get to have our kids go out and volunteer all around Main Street and help out different organizations. So I bring a group of kids down to the theater, and they're painting something outside, and they're moving things around for us. And then we actually had a student establish a relationship and then come back to work a show for us. So it's all community building.
One of the other things about theater is the fact that when people are learning to be actors, that they learn about character development and different personalities. And I think that's a way to develop emotional intelligence.
Definitely, yes. The amount of work that you have to put in as an actor is a lot more deep than people can realize sometimes. Like on the surface level, it's a play. There is play, there is fun, there is joy, there is ease. But then once you start actually thinking about like the situations and the characters and the stories and the cause and effect of everything, even in a comedy, you can find some really deep nuance and learn something new about yourself or about the people around you, which is fantastic.
It really is.
So getting back to where we were when Susan came in.
Just change the subject.
Great point, Susan. Great
thank
points.
you.
You're having a great conversation here. I hate to break it up, but
Oh, no, you don't.
I want to make sure. No.
No, just, that's a joke. That's a joke.
Remember we talked about before about writing something together?
Yes, it's
not
hard
easy.
to collaborate.
It is not. I keep telling Wayno.
Honestly.
I keep telling Wayno and everybody else who does a show on this station, it is not easy to do a show with another person to be the host. And hostess, I was rolling for a while. Ava actually got me into what is the main topic of the show. The thing we want to emphasize the most is her performance tomorrow.
Yes.
At the theater, and that is what time?
It's at
Liz Estrada.
2 p.m. It's a workshop reading, so it's a really great new opportunity. I don't think we've gotten to do this at the Guild before.
Yeah, I don't recall.
So this is the first time that this script will ever be read out loud,
right?
People will have the opportunity to come in and give feedback and ask questions, and then they can come back in June and see the final product.
Yeah.
Fully produced, casted, costumed, lit, everything, right? So you get to really see it from page to stage with this process.
Oh, you're looking for volunteers for the old man's chorus?
Always.
Well, there is an old man's chorus, right?
Yes. So the way that I've done
I remember that much from the old women and the old men.
Traditionally, in Greek plays, there's the chorus, right? So that's one thing that I really had to work on with adapting, because I didn't want to have a huge cast and then have a bunch of people who only have like one line. I wanted to make each part meaningful for whatever actor's stepping into it.
That's smart.
So I have some roles that are doubled, right? So Synesius is also an old man, Lampedo is also an old lady, right? And that also is going to give them a great opportunity to play two very different characters. Because the old men and the old women chorus, they're really comedic relief most of the time. And then they get to play serious characters as well.
I remember when I took that theater survey course, we started with, I'm sure we started with the Greeks, and Aristophanes might have been one of the first. And, the instructor pointed out that at one time the chorus was a solid one chorus. And then I think when he did this play, I think it was the first time ever, as far as I know, as far as Jack knew, the teacher, that they had two choruses. Yeah. Two separate choruses. And I love the way it's set up. Yeah. And I just, I did look at some notes today because I try to prepare for the shows.
Did you Wikipedia the play?
I what?
Did you look at Wikipedia?
I looked at that. I looked at some other notes, some notes for college students studying the play. And that's why I knew it was 4:11. Yeah. Okay, you said, well, this guy's cheating. But
history of theater
I'm trying to impress you, Rupar, Susan, and our listeners. But anyway, it's tomorrow at 2:00. That's the important thing. Yes. People want to know about this play, about the progress that Ava Molnar has made in adapting it for the Wyndham Theater Guild. Okay, 2:00, and it'll probably take an hour and a half?
I'm saying we're going to end probably around 4, but that really depends on the length of the discussion.
On the discussion, that's right. But it's not, those plays were not that long.
No. This adaptation
I haven't seen
is
it done, but I read it.
It's not long.
Yeah, and it's really, and you're going to, of course, make every attempt to try to bring it to modern times. Yeah. And but I don't have to work hard at it because it is. Yeah. It's about war and it's about the relationships between men and women.
Yeah, so that's also an interesting thing that I'm trying to do with this adaptation is because so much of it is gender focused originally. I'm trying to shift away from that a little bit and have it focus more on the conflict between power and desire.
Yeah.
Right? You want something, you need something, I have that something. What happens in that relationship, regardless of gender?
Yeah, okay,
right?
that's now you're getting into politics because to me, politics is everywhere.
It is.
Within families.
Yeah.
Within any
it's the
bunch
politic
of,
of
existing.
The first time I read Lysistrata was in my political play class in college because at its heart it is a political thing.
It is. It's definitely political.
Existence
You're trying
is
to
political.
stop a war.
Yeah.
The war is the extreme politics.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's about the Peloponnesian War. Among the Greek city-states, mostly Athens and Sparta, but there are others involved.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's tomorrow at the Theater Guild, and what's the number? Street number of the?
779.
I didn't stump you. Okay, I'm sorry I put you on the spot.
I just made posters for a bunch of other events too, so it's fresh in my mind.
779 Main Street tomorrow, Saturday, the 9th of March, at 2 p.m. Ava Molnar will be revealing her work.
Yes, first draft. Very scary.
First draft. Yeah. Sure.
I'm nervous. I am.
Well, hey, if you can do this show, you can do anything.
I mean, that's the thing, but that's what keeps it fresh is like every time it's nervous. I've done theater almost my entire life at this point. I still get nervous.
Well, as
that's
I
what
explained,
reminds me I'm alive.
When I was coaching kids, I explained to them, you know what? I played ball until I was 50 years old, and I used to do, meditation before games just to calm myself down.
Yeah.
You always get the butterflies.
Yeah.
But that's what gets you going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Susan, you want to take us to a break?
Well,
We're going to have to take a break now.
Okay.
Well, no, I don't. You go right ahead. You finish up.
Oh, I'm Dennis O'Brien. I'm here with Susan Johnson, my co-host, who came in a little bit late.
Yeah, I'm paying for it.
She's paying for it, but she's going to get her equal time on the second part of the show.
We'll see.
Anyway, we've got Ava Molnar with us, and we're talking about Wyndham Theater Guild for the most part, but especially a performance she's doing tomorrow at the Wyndham Theater Guild, 779 Main Street, 2 p.m. Aristophanes' play, Lysistrata, and it's a great play. I studied it in college. And she's adapting it for use here and at the Wyndham Theater Guild. It's going to be presented in June, and she wants you to come and to hear her progress because she's going to have people reading the parts. And so 2:00 tomorrow at Wyndham Theater Guild, 7079 Main Street. We'll be right back after these messages from our wonderful sponsors, especially Denny Gates and his group. Thank you. Back again. I'm doing a lot tonight. Wow, I'm really pleased. I don't get just to talk. And I'm Dennis O'Brien, and I'm the co-host of Let's Talk About It. It's been on the air now for well over 20 years here, and we love the Gates group of automobile dealers who do a wonderful job, and they sponsor us for so long, keep us on the air, keep us talking. And I'm here with Susan Johnson, my co-talker and co-host, and we have Ava Molnar with us tonight. We have Matt Rupar, our producer. Ava Molnar is a teacher at the Wyndham Arts Arts
at the Capitol Theater.
At the Capitol Theater, I should know that. I worked in the Capitol
that's the
Theater.
building.
Well, let's see. Okay, I blipped. Anyway, she's also connected for a long time with the Wyndham Theater Guild as a board member, as a writer, have you done acting?
Yes, I've done everything.
You've done everything. Have you sang in the groups? I
haven't sung in the groups.
You haven't done any singing.
But I have been on stage, backstage, up in the booth, all of it. I love all of it.
But tomorrow you're going to be doing something really important.
Yes.
You're going to be revealing
brand new.
Go ahead.
Brand new. First time we've ever done something like this.
Tell us what you're going to do. You tell us.
And first time ever that my adaptation of Lysistrata is going to be read out loud for a workshop reading, which means that people are going to have the opportunity to ask questions, give feedback, and help shape it and change it before it goes up on stage in June. So this is the opportunity for people to help craft something that is then going to be fully produced.
Maybe you should tell us a little bit about the plot of Lysistrata, because it is something that will attract people, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's it'll attract people for various reasons. Because I think one of the reasons when I first experienced it when I was a lot younger, I think our professor was very young too, a guy, and I think he thought it would be attractive to the males in the group.
Yeah.
Because of the theme. So if you want to talk about it, that might get more people over there to listen to your thing, right?
That's a good idea.
It's an interesting play.
Yes,
It is.
sounds
It is.
very
It's
interesting.
one
I'm
of
talking
those
about
things
mixed company, but it's
where
okay.
I say the
I can
title
handle
of it, and some people will recognize it. But then as soon as I say, "Oh, it's the sex strike play," a few more people go, "Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah, you remember that. Yeah, I
generally
heard about
understand that concept."
Yeah.
So the whole premise is it's during the Peloponnesian Wars, so Athens versus Sparta and a few other city-states happening. But Lysistrata decides that the war should come to an end, and in order to do that, she is going to organize people to have a sex strike, which means that there will be no touching, no intimacy, none of that until the war is over. And this actually has been echoed in history. There have been actual successful sex strikes that have happened throughout the course of history, all variously modeled off of this play, which is pretty interesting. That's come up in my research. And it is one of those things where I was wondering when I was adapting this how much I want to sell it as the sex strike play.
Yeah.
Because it can be something that people are...
Well, it might
you know,
attract a lot of young guys. I don't know.
it's one of those things. It's
You know.
just funny, but
Oh,
it's,
Susan's getting a look on her face. She's like, what's he saying?
it's one of those things where people feel like it might be pushing the envelope a little bit, but it is, I mean, first off, it's an ancient Greek play,
Great
so
literature.
it's nothing new, right?
No.
It's as old as time itself, right? It's as old as Dennis.
No, older. I'm not that old. Tell your mother about that.
But it is a very natural, basic thing, right? And
Yeah.
it's one of those things that we should be a little more comfortable talking about. And
Right.
theater is one of those places where you can go to explore the discomfort. I mean, we are trying to push ourselves a little more. We have another event coming up, Marching into Oblivion,
Yeah.
and this is the second time we've put it up. That always has plays that are a little edgier and kind of push the envelope a
plays.
little bit. Yeah, new plays, new shorts.
You've had some yourself.
Yeah, I was part of the writing team last year for Marching into Oblivion. This year they've got a great lineup of playwrights, and it's all things that kind of they're going to test you a little bit. They're going to like bring you out of your comfort zone, which is important for us. Because again, if we end up getting too comfortable and too sedentary, that's when the motion stops. That's when
Hartford
we
Stage
stop
does
growing.
that. Used to do that from time to time.
Yeah.
A Yale rep, they'd have new plays by
Yeah.
people, and I'd say, "What's this? New play?" And I want to see O'Neill, but
Yeah.
some of it's pretty good.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's the comfort of coming back to something that's familiar, right? We just did Steel Magnolias, which is a very
Great
familiar
success.
performance, and it was a fantastic production.
It was.
But there's also the value in the new and the things that are exploring territory that we wouldn't necessarily go into before.
Yeah.
For example, we started doing Rocky Horror. That was very new for the Theater Guild, right?
Yeah.
And it's something that isn't going to be everyone's taste. But it
Right.
is also a very successful event where we get to be in community with each other
Yeah.
in a different way.
And some people might not
So what
feel
did you-
comfortable in that, but
Yeah.
you're right.
But it's important to
not
to
everybody's
provide
going to like
different
everything,
spaces.
but
Exactly.
But live theater is usually. I can't remember too many bad experiences in all the live theater that we've seen, Susan,
Yeah.
over the years. I mean, we've seen a lot.
Oh yeah, we used to go all the time until COVID. I just wondered what inspired you to do Lysistrata, and what was the the idea behind it? Because here we are in Women's History Month and
International Women's Day
exactly,
today. Yeah.
exactly. Good timing, I'd
Yeah.
say, for the play. And I'm just wondering exactly what inspired this this idea for you to try and create the play for here.
Well, we try to have like a nice blend of plays in our season, right? So comedies, dramas, tragedy, modern things. So Lysistrata was suggested as our classic type play that could come as part of our season. And as soon as I heard that name come up, I was like, oh, I remember that play. I actually really like the idea of playing around with it, especially because Lysistrata, sometimes people refer to it as a feminist text, but if you go back to like the ancient Greek, it's actually pretty disparaging against women.
Sure, well,
A
that's
lot-
history.
Aristophanes
Yeah.
was a guy in
Yes.
411 BC.
Yes.
Or
And
that
then
way you could
almost
call
all-
herstory.
I think he was a guy, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And then almost all of the translations were originally done by men.
Mm-hmm.
A majority of the
Oh,
adaptations done by men, right? Originally played by men. A lot of jokes at women's expense.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's another reason why I decided that with this adaptation, I actually wanted to step away from gender a little bit. I tried really hard to actually not have the word women anywhere in the text,
Interesting.
which was a feat.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I think one of the most important things to remember is the humanity at the heart of it all, right? Lysistrata is traditionally a woman who is trying to use the only thing that she has available to her, which is herself and her body and her sex, right? And she's trying to use that to gain any semblance of power in a system that is historically, not an even playing field,
Right.
And this is a story that is very common, and she's trying to bring people together. And so there's this like the unsteady leader idea that I really love, where she is confident, but she's kind of building the road as she's walking on it. And it's something new. And then thinking about, well, it's not just women who experience this. I am looking also to expand the cast to have non-binary actors in it, right? Really toying with the idea of, like, where is the line? What is woman, what is man? So actually part of adapting the script originally, I sent out these Google Forms that was just a few questions about, like, what is your feminine? Right? For you, living as a woman, what does it mean to be a woman? When do you feel most like a woman, right? And then I made the same survey, but for men. Right? What is your masculine? When do you feel most like a man? And the responses that I've been getting are really interesting and really shed a lot of light on how people perceive themselves and the societal implications of who they are.
It's really interesting because I think we put so much emphasis on gender. And I think that, especially now we have an opportunity in a society that's evolved with technology and capacity to work in many different ways, whether it's education or medical or, even as people in war, people who are public safety officials. They all have, we all have men and women in all these different areas. So it's almost as though we are able now to create a situation where we do have access to being able to, take from either gender in terms of personality.
Yeah, it's completely about who you are as a person and not who you are because of a gender identifier.
Do you think that that's part of how we can make, whether it's gender or race, because race is another way of people identify with themselves based on race, and society does the same with race and gender. I just think that as we evolve more, we take away all these barriers, that we're going to be less focused on gender and race and more on just what we can do to create a society that functions more.
Yeah, it's about learning from the cultural aspects that each person has to bring, right? What you've learned from your past, from your ancestors, from your history, right? Regardless of what you're looking like, but bringing what you have to the table, right?
Yeah.
And being open to seeing that everyone has something to offer and not blindly being like, oh, well, you go over there, that kind of thing.
Right.
Or just ignoring or erasing or flattening anyone's story.
Yes.
You have to let everyone tell their full story. Which,
Everyone definitely has something to offer.
Yeah.
Whether it be good or bad, or based on your own judgment.
And
But-
we
but-
always
but
have to listen and
but
watch for it.
Exactly. I mean, there isn't anybody who isn't interesting, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
That's their varying degrees of interesting. But I'd never met a person I didn't find interesting. I don't.
And
think.
that's the story that's at the heart of it, right?
That's
Every character, every story that we put up on stage,
Yeah.
it's about helping us explore and learn and grow.
That's what.
That's why
Theater is a
theater's
great medium.
So important for students, for
Yes.
kids to get involved in, even at younger ages. I think it was really a great thing, and I think
Yeah.
it's part of also helping the students develop emotional intelligence, because they can try on a different personality in this play, and it's a really great opportunity to explore how that personality functions.
Yeah.
And I think that when kids have trouble with their own personalities, if they can just move on to a different one, just try that one out and not have any danger.
Yeah, it's about
The
creating
danger,
a
of course,
safe-
is creating, doing the work.
Yeah.
But yes, the safe place for this different personality, and they can say, oh, yeah, I can do that.
And then also to think about like, oh, well, why am I reacting that kind of way, right? Because
Right.
one of the big things in acting is motivation, right? What's my
Right.
motivation in the scene? What do I want to get? How am I trying to get it from other people, right? So once you start thinking about human behavior kind of in terms of motivation, you can start to see where some other people are coming from. Where originally, like, someone said something and you were like, oh, I can't believe they said that. I don't understand why they would ever say that. And now you can maybe understand, oh, a little bit more about motivation. Okay. And then you start thinking more expansively, right? Instead of just in a single track of like, oh, well, now I'm mad and I'm never talking to them again. It's less about absolutes.
Yes. And I think that's part of evolving as a society, evolving as a person.
Yeah.
And when you are able to just have, oh, that's a disagreement, we don't agree here, but, over here, sometime we may agree, and you just move on, and however.
Yeah. And that's another big thing where improv comes in, right?
Yeah. I love improv.
Improv's great. And it's one of those situations where you can learn to like just first off learn how to trust your instinct, trust your gut, and learn how to let go of things, right? Because sometimes you'll come into a scene and you'll think, oh, I want this to happen, I want that to happen, I want this other thing to happen. And then someone says something and you're like, oh, that was funny, I want to go in that direction now. So you have to let go of what you originally came in with, and you have to be able to go with the flow.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
You have to be able to improvise. Living is improvising.
That's kind of what we're doing on the show.
Yeah.
That's what we always
We don't.
do.
Yeah.
This show is not. We don't script it.
This
We-
show
we
is
couldn't
not
possibly.
scripted.
Not
No,
scripted.
not
no.
at all.
No
No,
scripts.
No scripts. No scripts. We have general ideas, and
Yeah.
like I said, I did some prep. I know the play was written in 411. I think I impressed everybody. I know I did.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, I'm just being
Silly.
Dennis. Anyway, I think everything you all both said just before that was, I agree with it. I think it's great.
And that's why I'm so glad to be part of the Theater Guild.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got my workshop thing coming up, but then we have Marching into Oblivion the week after that, the 15th and 16th.
Yeah, I have the dates. I wrote them down, I think, but
Yeah, and then
And an envelope.
in April we have Puffs, which is another very funny newer play that is. I've been at some of the rehearsals, and it is absolutely hilarious. They are having so much fun with
somebody,
it.
it's a close friend of yours is directing it.
Yes.
I was told by a little bird today.
Yeah, and then after that we have our kids show coming back. We're doing Newsies Junior. So
great.
One of the things that we've had requested the most is to have a program for kids come back.
Yes.
We haven't been able to pull it off since we shut down for COVID.
Oh, dear.
So having it come back now is really great, and there's always also room for more people if you want to get involved.
Yeah.
But having that space for kids to start getting into the theater world and having the opportunity to play, which is a lot of fun. And then being able to do it on stage in front of people, and the pride and joy that comes from children's programs is really incredible.
Yeah, I remember being involved in plays when I was in grade school. I remember writing a play that lasted for an hour and a half, and I directed it, acted in it, almost the whole grade school class was in it, and
Nice.
all these parents. The auditorium was jam-packed, and I didn't feel nervous at all.
Yeah.
I didn't start getting nervous about things like that until I got older. Until I got to be, hit puberty.
Puberty starts setting
Once
in,
you
and
hit
you're
puberty,
suddenly
you go,
super self-conscious.
I'm
Yeah.
inadequate.
But that's something that you still remember.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah. I remember it, and I remembered
That's
how much
incredible.
I enjoyed it. Just like I enjoyed painting in oils when I was like 6 or 7 years old, because I had an artist in the neighborhood who I wandered into her studio, and she said, "Oh, what are you doing?" And she showed me, and she said, "Oh, you're pretty good."
Yeah.
But then I discovered baseball. I was probably better at art, but it's all fun.
Yeah.
It's all good. Life life is too short, and you have to
Gotta try everything.
That's right. You have
Thank
to.
you. Yes.
Oh, there's somebody who.
I love that.
Yeah.
You do have to try, and that's
She is
one way to
interested.
try everything is
Yes.
with a theater, with a play, because you can vary your experiences. You can really, dive into it,
Yeah.
and have that whole new life.
Yeah, we even do
yeah.
like the 24-hour theater. That's a bare bones type thing. Meteor Night, I think, is what we're going to be
wow.
doing a little later on. But it's a 24-hour theater thing. So Friday night, writers get a prompt, and Saturday morning, they have a script, and they give it to a small group of actors. All day Saturday, they're rehearsing it. Saturday evening, there's a show.
Wow, sounds like
24
pressure to
hours
me.
later.
Sounds like
fantastic.
fun.
But it's a great, like,
Real
kind
life.
of lower
You need
stress
adrenaline
way.
going.
Like, do I want to try this? Do I want to play it?
Yeah.
I don't have the time to commit to a full show. I've
Right.
got 24 hours.
Yeah.
Right.
I can do that. That's fun.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
fun.
Exactly.
Well, this is
It's a good learning
This is great.
experience too.
Yeah.
about
We're
theater.
getting down to our last
Yes.
2 minutes. We've had some Theater Guild people on recently, and we've had some great shows, and this is another great show, Ava.
Yes, it
Thank
is.
you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having
Now, why don't
me.
you tell us in the last 2 minutes or so what you're doing tomorrow, just so folks who didn't tune in early in the show
Yeah.
will get the word.
Should I go through the rundown of everything we've got going?
Go through the rundown of the tomorrow, anyway.
All right, so tomorrow
Start with that.
at 2 p.m. we have the workshop reading of my play Lysistrata. So it's a new adaptation, first time it's going to be read, and you can ask questions and give feedback. And then next week, March 15th and 16th, we have Marching into Oblivion, which is a bunch of short pieces written by local playwrights, hilarious stuff, kind of pushing the envelope a little bit. Those are at 8 p.m. And then in April, we've got Puffs, which is hilarious spoof on a certain magical school that we know a lot about, but we can't say the actual name of. But it's very
was
funny.
warned.
And there's a lot of nostalgia for that. So if that's something that you enjoyed when you were younger or even in your 20s or something, coming to that, it has that nostalgia factor without having all the details of it, and it's hilarious. And then we have our kids show, Newsies Junior, and we still have some ensemble spots available for that. And that comes up in May, I believe.
Okay, so tomorrow's presentation that
Yes.
you're doing is actually free,
Yes.
and but you'll take donations.
Yeah,
if people
yeah.
want to donate.
And there's concessions for sale.
Okay,
All right.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Very nice.
So
Sounds
you'll
great.
be open. So all right. So
All
it's time to go. We've had a wonderful time here with Ava Molnar of the Theater Guild and of the Arts Magnet School, and Susan Johnson, and our very wonderful producer Matt Rupar, Stennis O'Brien. We're going to be back next week with another great show. Meanwhile, tomorrow, 779 Main Street, 2 p.m. Try to be there. Thank you.
Thanks.